Hey everyone, welcome back to Locust Grove Homestead. I'm Lucas, and today is another beautiful spring day. So we got the cover crop all crimped off, and now it's time to plant. Look at Cyrus out there being all eager, ready to get seeds in the ground, aren't you? All right, let's grab our crusty. It is kind of crusty. All right, first things first, we're gonna plant some glass gem corn. Let's pour this out and so you can get a better look at it here.
Whoa.
There you go. Glass gem is a colored popcorn. It's one of the most beautiful corns I think I've ever seen. We're gonna no-till into this garden by hand, no machines here. So we're gonna use this furrow right here. And this is a tool that I've kind of made myself, I guess, just over trial and error over the last few years. And we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna furrow this out and we're gonna get the corn planted in here.
Yep, go.
Oh, it's me. It needs to take its time. I know. You'll make it through sometime. Ah,
There you go.
I think we're clearing it up.
There we go.
So this rye is kind of like combing hair. It's like if you watched the crimping video from the other day, one of the things that I said was a big deal was to make sure that the rye is all crimped in a straight row. So you can see, if you look down through here, you can see our furrow. Now that was just the first pass. What I'll do is I'll go back to the other end. Always go from the same direction. You start on that end, you come to this end, you go back, you start, you come back this way. We'll hit that furrow twice, and then we'll run the seeder through there.
Oh, it's struggling again. Fake news, he already lost a bit. Oh, he's got some dirt clumped on him there. I can see what you can't see.
Might still be a little wet.
Yeah. Is it not good when it's wet?
Well, the dirt clogs up too much. See how it's balling up?
Yeah.
I mean, part of that's roots, but...
Yeah. Back to it we go.
So now we got our furrow. Soil's still a little wet, but we'll see if this will work. If not, we'll have to wait another day and then try it tomorrow, but...
You know how that works. That wheel spins, so it has a line on it. That line twists another thing. That thing grabs onto the seeds. And then this little slot right here, it falls through this thing right here. It's like a little slot. Then it drops into this. And this right here, this goes, and this right here keeps it going in the row, because if there's on pieces, it'll chop through the row. But the seeds come into here and they drop right out.
Yep. He's got it figured out, I think. This is an old earthway cedar that we've had in the family. I don't even know how long, probably 20, 30 plus years. This thing is, I don't think we've ever done anything to it. Just changed plates. These things last forever. They're not the most precise equipment in the world, but if you're looking to garden for cheap, I mean, I don't know how you can go wrong, especially if you can find an old one at a garage sale, because, I mean, maybe someday, which it's never happened, but maybe you have to replace that drive belt. But, I mean, this thing is planted probably, oh, heck, this cedar is probably planted 30 acres over its lifetime, so who knows.
I'm just fire her up. Whatever.
Get her primed here.
What is that? What is that stick with the two things sticking out? What is that about? I can tell it's planting seeds. I hear stuff dropping. I don't think I'm seeing any fall. See any in the soil? I don't see any so far either. I don't see any seeds. I think the seeds are
It
gone.
should be covered up. So, go, pull this back. Hey, look.
I don't see any seeds there. Look at that. It's a big, like, larva.
Nothing falling out, is there?
No.
Oh, there must be some blockage. Let's go get the bag. It's always something around here, isn't it? He caught that though. But it's always important to check your seed bed on your first swipe to make sure everything's running okay, because you could plant your whole garden and not realize you didn't plant your whole garden. Look, it's coming out, look.
Yeah.
Nothing in that chute. Look.
Oh! So, do you want the seeds come out? Stick, sorry for ripping you out for no reason.
Here, give me that stick.
Okay, now.
There we go. All right, now seeds are dropping. Well, we got that fixed. I'm not sure what was in there blocking it, but it was blocked. Do you love how straight that row is? That's just beautiful, isn't it? I love how straight that row is.
Okay, second round. You can make it, planter. I can hear them falling.
All right, that's one row in. You can see some of the seed like here at the end. That one wasn't buried, but that's because I had to raise up at the end. But if you look down through here, you got all good coverage down through there. So what I like to do, if I come in and I'll just kick it back with my feet. Yeah. Just like that. It's my high-tech tools. The thing to remember when you're doing no-till gardening like this, you know, most no-till operations are going off of weight. You don't have weight because, you know, you got you and the piece of equipment that you're using. So what you're gonna have to do is substitute weight for intelligence. And I know it's hard to come by sometimes, and I struggle with it myself. But this will work. It's gonna take a little bit of elbow grease sometimes. If you can get your rye to lay all the same way, it makes it really easy. It had a little spot right here in the middle where that storm we had the other day really knocked down some of the rye, but it, you know, it is what it is. You just gotta work through it. So now we just rinse and repeat. That's all there is to it. Well, unfortunately, it is just a little bit too wet. The ground's balling up quite a bit and it's not getting a good seed bed in there, so we'll have to wait until it dries out a little more. That is one of the downsides to this kind of, that is one of the downsides to this style of gardening, although it's also, its strength is it does hold a lot of moisture in the soil. So when you go to plant into it, it's gonna be a little difficult to plant into it because it's gonna have a bunch of moisture underneath there. So you can see right here, this is the other style of garden, perfectly dry enough to plant, but this out here, there's just no way. Take two on this corn. It was been 2 days since we were out here last time. Soil looks pretty dry now. You can see right here, we're should be in good shape to plant now. So I'm gonna go ahead and run these furrows down through here. That is much better. Soil's not nearly as wet as it was 2 days ago. You can see it's still moist. Underneath that mulch, it's gonna stay pretty moist. So the logic behind this little cultivator kind of acts like your coulter on the front of a no-till planter. The only difference really is you don't have the weight that a no-till planter does. And so a coulter would be able to just press right through this grass and cut it in half, or would be able to press right through this rye and cut it in half. But obviously we don't have that. So what we're doing is we're going through on the first pass, we're laying back the rye so that we can get the coulter down into the ground. and then the second pass we're coming through and we're digging that trench. Now, the little planter that we use, it doesn't have the ability to be able to dig its own path. It can only run through tilled soil. So we have to make that furrow for it so they can plant the seed in there. And then once we're done, we go on behind and we're kicking it over with our feet just to pack it in with our feet, with our feet. And that works just like the press wheel on a no-till planter. So conceptually, it's all basically the same, but we're bypassing all those systems so that we can do it manually. There we go. We got 5 rows in right here, covering this little area. So this was my test plot. So this is my test plot for the year. I was curious if you could actually do this by hand. I know that it's not as easy as dropping it with a no-till planter, which is why I'm planting 5 rows here, and the rest of it will go up at the farm where I can plant it with a no-till planter. But I wanted to see if it was even possible, and it definitely works. I mean, that seed is in the ground at 2.5 inch depth, and there's no reason that it shouldn't come up. Our weeds should be suppressed. We had a cover on this ground from late December last year all the way through until middle of May this year. What is today, the 24th? So today's May 24th. So for 6 months we had cover on this ground, which is, that's a huge step in the right direction. If we'd have been in here earlier, we definitely could have had cover on the ground from late October of last year all the way through until spring of this year. We could have always had a living root in this garden, which I think is something that, you know, I really want to push for. I want to make sure that all of our soils have living roots. I mean, I don't know what you all see when you see this, but this is the future of sustainability to me. And I think this looks a ton better than a tilled garden. And when it comes down to even the economics of it, if you think about the amount of money most people have in their tillers and whatever else they're using tool-wise, it's not that big of a step to be moving into a no-till system. And you look at your average tiller cost, to me it just seems like a no-brainer, but I know a lot of people see it differently. I know a lot of people have been in the tillage game for so long that they don't know that anything else is even possible. And I get that, I respect that. You do it for 30 years, 40 years, why would you want to change? But to say I'm happy with this would be an understatement, because this is exactly what I'd hoped. It's all nice and flat. This stuff has been flat for 3 days now. It's clearly dead. It's clearly starting to wilt over. There's a few pieces that are trying to stand back up in here, but for the most part, it's done. You come back here, the pumpkins that we planted 3 days ago, they're looking pretty good. There's no weed competition coming in. By the time these things come out and they grow out across this rye, I'd be surprised if we pull more than a dozen weeds out of this garden at this point in time. But we'll see. You'll see as we continue to develop this thing and we continue to push forward. Growing season's just getting started, so I think this garden's going to start transforming really quickly. I mean, that little patch up there is already starting to transform, and it's only been in the ground for 3 or 4 weeks. And we haven't had any heat. It's been a very cold spring around here, cold, wet spring. But now we're starting to get decent growth on this garden, and everything else is really starting to pop. So just want to say thanks to everybody who's been watching the videos. You know, I know we're new. I know we're a new channel, and I really appreciate all the new subscribers and everyone who's been watching everything. And just want y'all to know that I appreciate it, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. Thanks.